Tabasco, the Saucy Raccoon, Chapter 2, and it's called There's a Raccoon on My Promotion Tour. Now, Tabasco was a celebrity raccoon. He was on the front page of many of the newspapers and magazines in Canada. That's pretty impressive for a raccoon. Here he is on the Vancouver Sun front page up there with the headlines. So, let's read something about his life on the promotion tour. A promotion tour for a book is always hectic, as publicists with authors in tow or authors alone clutching maps and schedules race madly around to radio and television stations, newspaper and magazine offices, restaurants and bookstores. There can be breakfast interviews, lunch interviews, and dinner interviews, where you're so busy answering questions you have no chance to eat your meal. There can be days when you're so busy tearing around trying to be on time, you have no meals at all. And then at the end of the day, you have to pack up your suitcase, gather up your books, take a taxi to the airport, and fly off to another city where it all happens again. At this stage in his life, Tabasco appealed to everybody. Desks were emptied, microphones abandoned whenever I took him out of his toque and tote bag. May I touch him? Was always the first question. Even busy businessmen in pinstripe suits loved Tabasco. One CBC producer hurriedly ordered a taxi to bring her children to the studio before we left. You know, said Carolyn, my publicity director from the publisher, she said in surprise one day, that TV interviewer today didn't even mind it when Tabasco started to squawk on the show and threatened to drown him out of the air. And I nearly died when the raccoon defecated among the lipsticks on Irma's makeup table. She didn't seem to mind a bit. A famous writer once said that if a domestic animal loves you, it becomes your slave. But if a wild animal loves you, you become its slave. And so it was with Tabasco. He didn't open his eyes till we were about 2 days into the tour, and even then he had a pretty blurred view of the world, and it was 2 weeks or more before he did much else other than sleep, between 2-hour and 4-hour feeds. He was just a tiny fluff ball snuffling into my toque or wobbling around on his delicate hands and feet, but he was surrounded daily by a retinue of adoring slaves. Secretaries strained his formula. Makeup girls minded him while I discussed the program. Salesmen weighed him on the post office scales. Receptionists bathed him in bathroom sinks. Technicians encouraged him to exercise on the office floor and stood guard in case anybody stepped on him. Messenger boys scurried around looking for cups, warm water, and paper towels. Other guests ran out of the studio to fetch supplies like baby oil for his dry skin, and busy hosts and hostesses cuddled him to sleep. Tabasco amazed everybody on this promotion tour. I'll read a bit more. The end of what happened at the end after we had spent a month in Canada going on radio and television and all these stations on the promotion tour. So we're now on the plane going back to Vancouver. On the plane back to Vancouver, Tabasco crawled out of the tote bag and climbed up onto my knees. It was the last flight of the tour, and if the flight attendants found out about their extra passenger, it wouldn't really matter. The worst they could do would be to escort Tabasco off the plane. Come to think of it, that wouldn't be too bad an idea. After 2 weeks of traveling and collecting more baggage, I could have used some help. Tabasco fell asleep, and I lay back to do what I hadn't time to do on the trip, and that's read the book. I had one passenger next to me, a man. I wonder what it's like to have a raccoon in one's parka, asked my fellow passenger, who had noticed the book, but not the subject. Where do you think she really keeps it? On my lap, I grinned. He looked down. You're kidding, right? No, I said innocently. Look again. Once again, he glanced down. Then he laughed. Okay, you got a stuffed raccoon on your lap. I tickled Tabasco under the chin. His eyes opened, and he stretched out lazily. Tabasco had big, bright, beady eyes and thick, shiny fur. The man stared at him. "Oh my God, I don't believe it," he said. In his short life, Tabasco had amazed a lot of people. He had charmed adults and children alike. He had appealed to their need to touch somebody wild. And I wondered what he said when he got home to his wife and said he sat next to a raccoon on the flight home. If you want to know more about Tabasco's extraordinary life, then read her book.